guys, and welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, my name is Cody Kavita. I'm an actress and a voiceover artist here in Los Angeles, California, and I also have 5 chronic illnesses, which I manage on a daily basis. Now, welcome to this week's video. If you are new to my channel, I typically do kind of lifestyle vlogs where I document life with 5 chronic illnesses while also being a busy actor. So if that sounds like something that you'd be interested in, please subscribe. I am trying very hard to get to 1,000 subscribers by March, and I think I can do it. But yeah, basically, if you've clicked on this video, then you already know what we're going to talk about. It's January, and I know a lot of people are thinking about their New Year's resolutions, and a lot of people choose to embark on weight loss journeys. And I wanted to put this video out there for any PCOS girlies that are considering starting a weight loss journey, who have maybe been on one before and it's been really frustrating and damn near impossible. I wanted to put this video out there so that you could consider adding a GLP-1 and basically just talk about my experience using them. Now, I will say, if you don't have PCOS, you can still watch this video, of course, and if you are considering using a GLP-1, you might find it helpful and informative. Just know, though, that your journey is probably going to look different than mine, considering I have PCOS. Now, I should start with a huge disclaimer. I am not a doctor. I'm not a medical professional. I am just a patient sharing what has helped me and basically my experience. So please consult your physician before trying anything that I mention in this video. Another thing that I am not going to talk about in this video is the cost of the medication. I am very aware that it is an expensive drug, and I'm also aware that when it comes to health insurance, some will cover it, some won't, and it's a very convoluted system. I'm not going to talk about that just because I can't really help with that. This is mainly just about the drug. And the last part of this disclaimer is I am not really going to talk about the aesthetics of weight loss, mainly because I did a lot of self-work when I was at a heavier size and also now at a lower size. And I've come to a place with my body where I have accepted that it's always going to be changing, and I love it at every stage. And if you are on a self-love journey, I don't want to mess that up for you by talking about aesthetics. But yeah, without further ado, grab yourself a snack or a coffee, and let's get into it. So the first place I think we should start is what is PCOS? So PCOS stands for Polycystic Ovarian Syndrome. I will put the definition on the screen here. For me, when it comes to PCOS, my symptoms did include cysts on my ovaries at some point, but my main symptom was weight gain and the inability to lose weight. I remember in 2013, that was when I had my first PCOS symptoms, I gained 40 pounds in 1 month, which might sound hyperbolic. I'm dead serious. If you have PCOS, you know what I'm talking about. It was like overnight. It was horrific, terrifying. I didn't know what was wrong with my body. It was just wild. However, I will say, that was in 2013. It still took me 4 years to get a diagnosis, which in hindsight is wild because PCOS is so common. The fact that it took me 4 years is just unacceptable. But yeah, in 2017, I was officially diagnosed with PCOS as well as insulin resistance. I will also put the definition of insulin resistance on the screen. But basically, insulin resistance, the way I describe it, it's a lot like having type 2 diabetes without actually having type 2 diabetes. It's really easy to gain weight and really difficult to lose weight. And at the point of my diagnosis, I was actually pre-diabetic. So my doctor at the time put me on birth control to help control my androgens. All of these hormonal systems are connected, and with PCOS, your ovaries, when they have cysts, they produce testosterone, which can increase or affect your insulin. It's a whole mess. So we put me on birth control to bring the testosterone levels down, but then we also put me on metformin, which is a common drug for diabetes. Essentially what it does is allow your cells to accept insulin and store it as energy rather than fat. At least in theory, that's what it's supposed to do. It didn't do that for me, but that's what it's supposed to do. So I was on those 2 drugs for a few months, and I was able to get out of the danger zone. I was no longer pre-diabetic. However, the weight did not change. If anything, I was just slowly gaining weight. So after a few years, I remember talking to my doctor and saying, you know, I'm just not losing weight. Like, what can I do? So she referred me to a dietitian. I saw that dietitian for a few months, actually, and nothing really came of it. I didn't lose weight, and I continued to gain. I also went through multiple personal trainers over the years trying to lose weight through exercise, and again, no change. If anything, just kept gaining. I remember being so upset that at my last appointment with that doctor, and it was the last appointment because, well, you'll see. With that last appointment with that doctor, I remember saying to her, like, I don't know what to do. I feel so helpless. Like, I am doing everything I can and nothing seems to be working. And I remember she said, well, your labs are normal. Which, if you have chronic illness and you have a doctor that says your labs are normal, try and find a different doctor. But if you can't, at least fight that. Because, yeah, your labs may be normal, but you don't feel okay. So, you know, that's what matters. So, yeah, it just frustrated me so much. She said, your labs are normal, and some women never lose the weight. Which, for me, was devastating in many ways. One, I have always been a very small person. I'm 5'1". I've always been petite. And growing up, there were times where I was almost too skinny. Like, I've always been small. I've never had to really worry about my weight. So to have gained as much as I did at such a rapid pace and feel like there's no end in sight, that was terrifying. But then also from a health standpoint, having excess weight contributes to inflammation levels, which at that point my inflammation levels were off the charts. It was insane. But also, you know, it affects your longevity. I was just really panicking because I knew I was headed back towards being pre-diabetic the more weight I gained. And it was really alarming that she didn't seem all that concerned. Yeah, just really disappointing. So after that appointment, I pretty much decided I wasn't going back to that doctor. And I kind of thought to myself, all right, well, if this is what it is, let me at least get the best doctor possible. So I looked online and I found my endocrinologist, who actually works at Cedars-Sinai in Beverly Hills. I picked her specifically because she specializes in complex cases, which at that point in time, I had been diagnosed with 4 of my chronic illnesses. So I figured she might be a good fit considering all of my chronic illnesses kind of influence each other. And I'm so glad I picked her because she is incredible. And within the first appointment, I knew I had made the right call because she was looking at my chart and she said, so what's your insulin level? And I was like, my what? And she's like, I don't see an insulin test on here. And I was like, like my A1C? And she was like, no, your insulin. Did they do an insulin test on you? And I was like, I don't know what that is. And she was shocked. She was shocked that I had seen that doctor for as long as I had and never had my insulin tested. Basically, with the insulin test, you eat a meal and then you wait an hour and then get your blood work done. And according to my lab, the reference or the healthy range is anything under 19. At that point, my insulin, I'm laughing because it's insane. My insulin was 148. 148, and it's supposed to be under 19. Unreal. And so once we had that result come back, she was like, oh, well, no wonder. And I was like, yeah, no wonder. So after that, we then talked about treatment options. And when it comes to the treatment options, of course, what she recommended was a GLP-1. At that point, this was 2021, so this was well before the GLP-1 craze. So the options available to me were Ozempic, Wegovy. There was another one called Saxenda, but I think it's a different drug. And then there was Rybelsus, which is an oral medication. Saxenda and Rybelsus weren't really the ones that she was proposing, but she really did push Ozempic because it was more geared towards people in my situation with type 2 diabetes or being pre-diabetic, things like that. But like I said, it was 2021, so it had literally just been approved by the FDA, I think a few months before I started it. 2 side notes I think I should say is that my previous doctor did mention Ozempic as an option to me, but she said that the most I could expect to lose was 15 pounds and that the side effects really weren't worth it. So I'll just put that in there. And then the other thing that is kind of a side tangent but still important, my new endocrinologist had referred me to a gastroenterologist, and he tested me and diagnosed me with my 5th chronic illness, which is SIBO. That stands for small intestinal bacterial overgrowth. The reason I mention it, in studies it has been shown to impact your blood sugar as well as your weight. And so I definitely feel like getting it treated contributed to my overall health, but also to my weight loss. So I just want to mention that as well. I will say my first injection took me 2 hours to do, mainly because I was just so scared of injecting myself and putting a needle in my stomach, which I will say my very first YouTube video was self-injections for PCOS, and it's a 5-step or 5 tips to make self-injections easier. I will try and link it at the end of this video, but if you are nervous about injecting yourself, I definitely recommend you go find that video. Like I said, it's my first video on YouTube. I feel like those tips really helped me, and now when it comes to injecting, it takes me, I don't know, like 2 seconds. Like, it's very easy now. But anyway, I started on the lowest dose, which for me was 0.25. The idea is that I would be on that for a month, get used to it, and then go up to the next dose. I injected at night, which if you're able to, I definitely recommend you do, because the worst of these side effects are right after you inject, and sleeping through them is really nice. But yeah, injected at night, didn't really notice anything, went to bed, and the next day, the first thing I noticed was that I was really, really tired, which I will say all these years later is still a consistent thing. The day after I inject, for maybe 1 or 2 days after I inject, I'm usually pretty tired, but after that it clears up and it's totally fine. Then as the week went on, I noticed that the nausea started coming in. It wasn't anything that was unbearable, but it was just kind of like a constant, I don't want to say gentle, because it, nausea is hardly ever gentle, but it was just kind of there, if that makes sense. And then the last thing I will say is that my food intake definitely changed. It was hardly anything. I remember going to dinner with a friend of mine, and I got tacos, and I had like 2 bites of the tacos, and I was done. And I had had food prior to that, like during the day, but those 2 bites, that was dinner. And I was done for the day. So that was pretty shocking, and, not unexpectedly, or unsurprisingly, there we go. Unsurprisingly, that first week I lost 10 pounds, which is insane, and I would not recommend. I don't think that's very healthy, but just so you know, that is what happened. In the first week, I lost 10 pounds. I thought it was a fluke. I thought there was something wrong with my scale. I changed the batteries on my scale because I thought something was wrong, but I genuinely had lost 10 pounds, and my clothes even fit me differently. I'm 5'1", I think I mentioned that, so 10 pounds makes a huge difference on my body. Yeah, so that was kind of shocking. It didn't continue like that, thankfully. For the next 3 weeks, I kind of steadily lost about 2 pounds a week, and I was able to eat more normally as the weeks went on, so that was nice. But by the end of the first month, I had lost about 16 pounds. So after the first month, it was time to go up to the next dose, which for me was 0.50. And so I did. I injected at night, and later that night, I woke up in the middle of the night and threw up. And that became a theme over the next few weeks. And I am somebody that prior to Ozempic, I never threw up. I could count on one hand the amount of times I had thrown up in my life. However, Ozempic changed that. So yeah, I will say 0.50 did not agree with my body. I absolutely hated it. I was hardly able to eat. I had major food aversions. Everything smelled to me. It was just awful. Everything I tried to eat, I would throw up. It got so bad to the point where even water made me throw up. And I know there might be somebody in the comments being like, well, why didn't you stop? Like, yeah, I know. I should have stopped, but I was convinced, I guess I convinced myself that I was going to get used to it. And I just kind of never did. So after a while, I talked to my doctor and she was like, oh my God, like, no, you don't have to suffer. Like, go back down. She was like, the lower dose was working for you, so just do that. And I was like, okay, thank you. Yeah. So I will say, like, if throughout this process you are suffering, stop. Don't do that. Don't do that to yourself. You don't have to do that. But yeah, I did go back down. But I will say, during the 4 to 5 weeks that I was on the higher dose, I lost about 20 pounds. So that brings us to about 2 months on Ozempic, and I had lost at that point 36 pounds, which is a lot and is quite fast, which, if you're like me and you struggle to lose weight, that can be very exciting. But as I'll mention later on, it did come to bite me in the butt later. So I went back to the 0.25, and I stayed on that for quite a few months, and it was great. I was able to eat normally. I continued to lose weight at a steady rate, about 2 pounds a week, maybe 1 pound a week. And again, I was able to enjoy food. I remember we went to Hawaii at some point, I think in May. And I don't feel like I was deprived of anything. I feel like I fully enjoyed myself on that vacation. But yeah, I kept going down until I had a follow-up appointment with my doctor in July. So at that point in July, from January to then, I had lost 14 pounds. So definitely a slowed amount of weight loss, which I'm totally fine with. I think, again, in hindsight, that is the healthiest way to go, slow and steady. But that does bring me to, from October to then, 53 pounds total that I had lost, which I think is pretty good. So I went into my checkup with my doctor, and during that checkup, we did do the insulin test again. Now remember, when I first started this journey, my insulin was at 148, and it's supposed to be below 19. At this point in July, my insulin was 7. 7! That is unreal. Like, just so cool. So I'm just really thrilled that I went ahead and started this drug, because, I mean, gosh, what a difference. What a difference. So in October of 2022, I hit my goal weight, which means that in a year, I lost 62 pounds on Ozempic. Now, I will say there was a bit of a miscommunication with me and my doctor. What I thought was my goal weight was actually a little too low. So I actually lost a little too much weight. So I did have to come back up just to get into the range that she felt was healthy for me and my body. Now, some things I should note. One of the things that I noticed for myself was my injection site. It mattered. With Ozempic, you can inject in your stomach, your thigh, and the back of your arm. For me, I always inject in my stomach, but I noticed that when I inject on my left side, for some reason, the medication works beautifully, works perfectly. I can feel it, all the stuff. But if I inject anywhere else in my stomach, it's like I didn't even inject. It's very bizarre. I don't know. I think it could be something that has to do with my body. I don't know, but that is just something I noticed, that injection site matters. Another thing I will mention is that diet definitely matters when you're on this journey. I tend to eat a plant-based whole foods diet. I try to eat as much fiber as I can as somebody with SIBO, and then I try to eat as much protein as I can as someone who is pescatarian. So I do sometimes have fish, but for the most part, it's all plant-based. I feel like that definitely contributed to my body's ability to lose weight. I will say, though, as like a side note, just something that I think is so funny. I do notice that when I am injecting, especially to lose weight, the first day after injecting, for whatever reason, the only thing my body wants is Mexican food. I don't know why. Like, usually it's just Taco Bell because it's tiny, small, easy, but like enchiladas, salsa, like for some reason that is all my stomach wants on that first day. So you might find that you have something quirky like that as well. Also, when you are injecting this drug, once you get the "I'm full" signal, listen to it. do not push past it. There were a few times where I pushed past it because whatever it was that I was eating was just so good and I wanted to finish it or whatever, and I regretted it. I definitely regretted it. So yeah, just listen to that signal, and you'll be fine. Something I mentioned before about the rapid weight loss and how it bit me in the butt later, I will definitely say slow and steady wins the race. Slow and steady wins the race. Because of those few weeks where I rapidly lost the weight because I wasn't eating and I was vomiting and all that stuff, I actually ended up losing a lot of my hair. And it took me quite a few years to grow it back. I don't think I'm even at a point now where I was before I lost my hair. So, you know, there are adverse side effects to losing weight quickly. So I would just say, like, look out for that and discuss that with your doctor. If you find that you're losing weight really, really fast, maybe adjust your dose because your body's going to react to that and you might not like the way it reacts. So the last thing I think I have to mention is with these drugs, these GLP-1s, there are risks associated. There's, you know, varying degrees. There's the minor ones like vomiting and nausea, but then there are the more severe side effects. These drugs cause a slowing of your gastric emptying, which is essential for controlling your blood sugar and helping you feel full for longer. But in some cases, it can cause like frozen gut. There's an actual term for it. I'll put it on the screen here, which can be very dangerous, where basically you're not digesting. That's really dangerous, and it has sent some people to the hospital, and in some cases, people have died. So, you know, as much as I talk about this drug being a miracle for me and being wonderful for me, I am 100% aware of the risks, and I'm always listening to my body and keeping an eye out for those things. So where are things now? Well, when it comes to Ozempic, I started in 2021. It's 2026 now, and I'm still on it. Again, I think this drug has been wonderful for my body. For many years there, I did a maintenance dose of 0.25, and that really worked for me. I will say last year I did struggle a little bit. At the beginning of the year, I lost my cat to cancer, and that was really devastating. And so the grief definitely affected the way in which my Ozempic worked. So that was something I noticed. But then also shortly before December of last year, there was an interruption in my metformin. It was a whole crazy thing with my pharmacy. It was like big mix-up or whatever, but by the end of it, I had been without my metformin for 5 weeks, which is not good when it's a blood sugar medication. So I, of course, gained weight. So I am technically back on the Ozempic for weight loss right now. Funny enough, I'm actually on 0.70. Over time, you do build up a little bit of a tolerance to it, so 0.70 is what I'm on now. And, you know, it's great. I think, again, it's the slow and steady 2 to 3 pounds a week, and I'm good. But yeah, I will be on that until I get back into my range, which shouldn't be much longer now. And then I'll go back to the maintenance dose. But overall, I am so glad that I gave this drug a try. I'm so glad that it worked for me. And I hope that if you try it, it works for you. I'd have to say that this drug has just completely changed my life. Prior to Ozempic, I had a horrible relationship with food. If you've had a history of disordered eating like I have, then you know the fear that comes before you eat or the guilt that comes after you eat. It's such a horrible feeling. And thanks to Ozempic and the signal that I get now that tells me I'm full, I no longer have to really think too much about mealtime. I can actually enjoy my food and view food as fuel. And yeah, it's just, it's been really wonderful. I think, too, it has also, in a way, repaired my relationship with my body. I think prior to going on Ozempic and getting my insulin tested and all of that, I just kind of thought, oh, I just have poor willpower. I really was very mean to myself, and I blamed myself for not being able to get my weight under control. However, now I know that there was no hope. Like, I naturally don't produce GLP-1, so it just... yeah, it really helped me forgive myself, I guess, for all of the all of the work I put myself through. But yeah, basically my hope is for you that this video maybe opens your mind up to a GLP-1, gives you a positive experience that I've had with it, but also will at least start that conversation for you with your doctor, and maybe you'll be lucky like me and find that this really wasn't your fault and that you just needed a little extra help. That's all. So yeah, I'm gonna leave this video here. If you are on a GLP-1, since there are so many now, let me know in the comments below. I'm really curious about other people's experience, especially on these other drugs that have come out. I'm just curious if it's kind of the same as my experience with Ozempic. Of course, if you have any more questions about my journey with Ozempic and PCOS and things like that, go ahead and leave them below and I will go ahead and answer them. But yeah, if you like this video, please like and subscribe and hit the notification bell so you don't miss when I upload my next video. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.